In this video, we're going to be going over what the quadratic formula is and how to use it when solving a quadratic equation, which is a great way to solve it if you're unable to factor it or do a completing of the square, or it just looks a little bit like it's an overwhelming problem. So what is the quadratic formula? Well, the quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So it's kind of a fun little song to help you remember what that formula is. So now we're going to use this formula, which, do you notice that that b squared minus 4ac is familiar? That's our discriminant, which means it tells us how many solutions we can expect. So let's go ahead and let's pop into one of these problems and work them out. So here we've got 2x squared minus 5x plus 3 equals 0. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to find our a, b, and c values. So in this case, our a value is a 2, our b value is negative 5, and our c value is 3. So we're going to set up our equation. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put parentheses everywhere that there is a variable where we'll need to plug something in. All right, so we have x equals the negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we have our numbers plugged in. And now if we go ahead and we take this inside piece and we plug that into our calculator, that is going to give us a value of 1. Now because that value is a positive number, then we know that we're expecting 2 real solutions, and we'll continue on. So now we see that we have x equals, we have double negatives, so that's going to make that a 5 plus or minus the square root of the one that we calculated by plugging our discriminant into the calculator divided by 2. Well, we know that the square root of 1 is 1, so we really have 5 plus or minus 1 divided by 2. And from here, we're going to split into 2 pieces. So we're going to do one of the problems here and one of the problems here. So we're going to do our plus problem here and our minus problem there. So we have 5 plus 1 divided by 2 and 5 minus 1 divided by 2. This is going to give us a value of 6 over 2. Wow, did you catch my mistake? I almost let that go. That shouldn't be a 2 because 2 times 2 is 4. So this value right here, we should have a 4. So we'll just change that really quick. There, that's going to be a lot better. All right, so let's finish working this problem out now. We've got that issue fixed. So that's going to give us a 6 over 4, which can reduce to a 3/2. And here we'll have a 4 over 4, which reduces to 1. So we have 2 solutions. We have x equals a positive 3/2, and we have an x equals a 1. And that is our solution. I want you to try letter B on your own. So go ahead and pause the video and work it out. And then when you're done, push play, and let's see if you were right. So first you should have found your a, b, and c values. So a equals 1, b equals negative 6, and c equals 5. Then you can plug those into the quadratic function or formula. And we're going to take our discriminant and we're going to plug that into our calculator to get a value. And that's a 16. So because that's a positive number, we're going to have 2 real solutions, just like we did last time. So we have x equals 6 plus or minus the square root of 16 divided by 2. And that's really going to be our 6 plus or minus 4 divided by 2. And then we're going to break this into 2 problems, one using the plus and one using the minus. If we take 6 plus 4 and divide that by 2, that's going to give us a value of 5. If we take 6 minus 4 and divide that by 2, that's going to give us a value of 1. So we should have x equals 5 and x equals 1 as our two solutions. Let's work out some other problems that aren't starting in standard notation. For problem C, we have negative 3x squared plus 2x equals negative 7. We need that 7 to be over with the group. So we're going to start off by adding 7 to both sides. Now that we've got our 7 on the side with the a and the b, we're going to find our a, b, and c values. We have an a value of negative 3, a b value of 2, and a c value of 7. So we're going to plug those into their places. From there, we're going to find our discriminant, which is a value of 88. So we're going to have two real solutions. Now we know that this is going to be inside of that square root. And so since it's not a perfect square, we can simplify that right now. Because we have x equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of the 88 divided by negative 6. So we're going to break apart our 88 over here where we have some room. And we're going to use 8 and 11. So 11 is a prime number. And 8 breaks down with a 2 and a 4. And 4 breaks down with a 2 and a 2. We have a pair of 2's. So that's going to leave me with 2 square root of 2 times 11, which is 2 square root of 22. So that's what we're going to put into that place. So what we really have is negative 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 22 over negative 6. Now you could leave this here like this and it would be finished because you can't break the 22 down any farther. Or what some people do is they look and see if these three numbers can go into each other. And in this case, they can. For example, the number that they all have in common is a 2. 2 goes into negative 2, negative 1 times. 2 goes into 2 1 time. And 2 goes into negative 6, negative 3 times. And so we could end up writing this as x equals negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 22 all over negative 3. And that would be the fully simplified solution. And in fact, we could take it a step further by looking at our negative divided by negative is actually a positive, and we could take those negative signs away, leaving us with x equals 1 plus or minus the square root of 22 over 3. Let's take a look at letter D. We have everything on the same side, so let's go ahead and find our a, b, and c and plug that into our quadratic equation. So we have an a value of 3, a b value of 0, and a c value of negative 8. We plug that into our quadratic equation, and then plugging in our discriminant is going to give us a value of 96. 96. And so because it's positive, we know that we're going to have two real solutions. So now we have x equals plus or minus the square root of 96 divided by 6. Now 96 is not a perfect square, so we're going to need to break that down. So we're going to use a 3 and a 32. 3 is a prime number. For the number 32, we could use a 2 and a 16. And for 16, we could use a 2 and an 8. And for the 8, a 2 and a 4. And for the 4, a 2 and a 2. And we're looking for pairs. So we have a pair of 2's here. So that'll bring down 1, 2. A pair of 2's here. That brings down another 2. And we're left with 2 times 3 still inside of our radical, which gives us a 4 radical 6. So we can replace this as a plus or minus 4 radical 6 over 6. And then we can see that 4 and 6 have a 2 in common. And 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 2 goes into 6 3 times, which would leave us with a final answer of x equals plus or minus 2 radical 6 over 3. And that is going to be our final answer. And so that is how you can use the quadratic formula to help you solve quadratic equations.